carpet down. We're gonna like do acoustic paneling and move a new board in and everything. So we're gonna have another like full size track.
That's awesome.
Studio E. I don't know why we skipped D.
Right.
I was thinking about a nickname. I was thinking about a nickname for myself. I was thinking about calling myself like Studio C. I kind of liked it. I was like,
Studio C.
Yeah, even though we're in B.
It's like letters in school. Like
Yeah.
you get a D and then you go to F. Why not an E?
Right.
Yeah. I think because E doesn't sound
Right.
as
Yeah.
bad.
Exactly.
Oh, I got an E. No, you got an F. Oh.
Right. Ooh. Yeah. Very true.
So when are we ready, Hunter? Alright, you guys ready to hit it?
Let's hit it, baby.
Do it to it.
Do it to it.
Rise and shine. Pour yourself a cup of coffee and tune in to Good Morning Aurora. News, weather, and really cool interviews. Monday through Friday from 8 to 9 a.m.
Good morning, Aurora. Good morning, Aurora. Good morning, Aurora. The time is 8:05 a.m. and you are listening to Good Morning Aurora, the second largest city's first daily news podcast. And we are joined today by you're all good, right, brother? That sound you just heard was our engineer knocking over something, but it's all good. He is the man still, nonetheless. Motor skills are just getting there this morning.
Today.
We are joined by our friend and community partner, Mr. Simon Rodriguez Jr. of the City of Aurora Youth Services.
Thank you.
Live claps, baby, live claps.
Yes.
I'm also joined by my co-host, Christine.
Good morning.
Hunter behind the boards, and Jay Vizzle over there. All right. So we've got a lot to talk about today. First things first, before we get into the news portion, I want to announce the winner of yesterday's kind of ad hoc art contest. So we had I took a Instagram story of a piece of artwork, and I asked, what street is this artwork on? The artwork was on LaSalle Street, and the person who got that correct was our Instagram friend, Counterculture Club. So shout out to Counterculture Club. I might see you at McCarty Mills, and I'll buy you a beer for that, big dog.
Nice.
Now, the next contest that we do like that, there will be a prize that we will give to the winner of that. But we'll announce that when the time is right. All right. So very important, super important. Remember, Emergency Rental Assistance Program through the state of Illinois. That date has been extended to tomorrow, the 28th. The program is via the governor's office and the IHDA, which is the Illinois Housing Development Authority. Apply at ema.ihda.org. Thank you, Hunter. Senior meal distribution, don't forget, August 31st at the Aurora Police Department, 1200 East Indian Trail, and that's from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Now, that's going to be a socially distanced event, so please remember to wear your mask. You have to bring at least one piece of identification, and this is for Kane County residents who are 60 years of age and older. 5 free meals. That's brought to us by our friends, the representative of the 83rd District, Barbara Hernandez, and representative of the 84th District, Stephanie Kifferwood, USMC veteran. Holla! Alley Art Festival, celebrating 10 years of art, music, and spectacle all around downtown Aurora, Saturday the 29th from noon to 5 p.m. There will be artists at multiple venues, musicians, and a puppet theater. Shout out to Marissa and Aurora Downtown for putting this together. It's going to be a good thing. Come on out and have some fun. Compendium. Yes, a week-long shopping experience showcasing makers, shops, and creators from across Geneva, Batavia, and Aurora. Wickwood House, Branch Gardens, Cottonseed here in Aurora. There's still that contest going on. If you purchase something, take a photo and hashtag campaign, you can win $150. Compendium runs to the 30th of this month. And last but not least, we have Carts for a Cause. September is Hunger Action Month. Paint a shopping cart to help put a spotlight on hunger. The carts will be placed at various businesses in downtown Aurora. Now, shout out to Chad at Treadwell, and shout out to his staff because they've been doing a lot feeding hunger. And shout out to a group called the Ally Legion. They have been posted up at Treadwell giving away food on Sundays. So if you want to get a free cup of coffee or a beverage, bring items to donate, and they go to the Ally Legion who post up and then give the food away. So that's a very good thing. And there's also, I wanted to take a brief moment to recognize and give another shout out to John at All Spoked Up. Yesterday, he said something that I took with me, and I want to share it with you guys again because it's something to think about today. Focus on what you have and not what you don't have. So that was a really positive message. I took it with me yesterday, and it made me just like be extra thankful for the things that I do have and not even worried about what I don't have. So all of us are contributing. We're doing our thing. Now, and we also have the bike ride. What was that?
The bike ride, Tour de the Fox River. There's a group that's going to do a socially distanced bike ride. It's going to be on Saturday.
Yes.
You can find it on Facebook. This
Saturday.
This Saturday.
This Saturday, socially distanced bike ride. So masks, ride 6 feet apart. You look like a bunch of geese traveling south or something like that, just honking your way down the Fox. That's how it is. So shout out to that group and team. And is there a time that start?
I will get that.
Okay, we'll get that information. We'll post it to you guys out there. All right, now, without further delay, Simon Rodriguez on the red couch here. Holla.
It's a very comfy couch. I'm not gonna lie.
Try to make our guests feel good.
Yes.
First things first, that shirt. Really
Yes.
feeling that. We will overcome.
Yes, absolutely. I think it's extremely relevant with what's going on in our world, in our country. I do have to give a shout out first and foremost to my guy Darius Williams. I hope he's listening in. If not, I'll let him know that I give him a shout out.
Right.
He has his own clothing line where he's my brother, man. We go to the same church, and he's just doing some great things in our community to voice what's going on.
Yeah.
So I think we can all be allies, but we can do more. So.
I agree, totally.
Yep.
All right, so let's get into it.
All
Part
right.
1.
right.
Welcome,
Excited.
Simon. Tell everybody who you are, where you're from.
Okay, so you made a great introduction, so I can't really beat that. But my name is Simon or Simon. People always ask me, which I prefer.
Mm-hmm.
And, when I was young, it was always Simon because my dad is Simon, right? And that's the Spanish way to pronounce my name. And I think as I get older, I'm really liking that Spanish version of it as well.
Okay.
So I like both. I'm born and raised in Aurora. I was born at Mercy on the west side. I wish it was the east side, but not hating on anybody.
Let's get a do-over of that.
Yeah. So, but raised on the east side my whole life. I went to, when it existed, Archbishop Romero Catholic School. St. Nicholas Church had a school, and I was there from kinder through 8th grade, and then I went to East Aurora High School. So that was kind of an interesting transition from a very, very small private Catholic school to a huge public high school.
Right.
But I'm very proud of that journey. And then, enlisted in the military, in the Army National Guard, and as well as going to Wabanzi and Illinois State University to get my degree in social sciences education. So then I became a history teacher, bilingual social studies teacher, some of the best 4.5 years of my life at East Aurora High School. So to go back to my alma mater and to teach, such a blessing. And, fast forward till today, youth services manager with the city of Aurora, and I'm sure we can go more in depth into what we do and kind of what I envision for youth services moving forward in our city.
Wonderful.
Yeah. And where are your parents from?
So my parents are both from Mexico. They were both actually born in the same city of Ciudad Juarez, Chihuahua, which is right across the border from El Paso, Texas. The funny thing is they didn't know each other till they both came to Aurora.
Really?
Which is interesting. If you get to know a lot of the families that have been here in Aurora, a lot of them are from the similar parts of Mexico. And it's interesting how that dynamic has changed.
Is Chihuahua a state?
Chihuahua is a state. It's one of the northern states. It's on the border mostly of Texas and I think parts of New Mexico. My parents met each other here, which is really interesting. And then they had 3 awesome children. The middle child, I think, is the better one, right? Can we say that?
You can.
We always get a lot of crap
Right.
because my brother
Word.
is the oldest, and he's like the wise. He can never do anything wrong, right? And my sister's the baby. She's the only girl. And in our culture, especially Latino culture, I mean, the girl is protected, sometimes overly protected.
Right.
I understand that.
And I can't continue talking about my life if I do not bring up my beautiful and amazing wife, Taizi. Every time I introduce her, everyone's like, wait, how do you pronounce it? Taizi. So she's Brazilian. She came here about 5 years ago, and we met and fell in love, and we're extremely happily married.
Congratulations.
And
So we
thank
saw
you.
y'all at Mora
Yes.
out there. Okay.
Yes.
Looking good.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
So, yeah.
Great place. And then our little guy, Teddy, who is a 18-month Siberian Husky, which he's our boy right now.
Nice.
We love him so.
Nice.
So yeah, that's a little bit about me.
Because I was wondering when you said and our boy Teddy, you said 18-month. I was with Babe, and you said Siberian. I was like, what, did y'all adopt him?
we did because he
Pet parents.
We
Pet
adopted
parents.
him from his but we're pet parents.
Cool.
But he's our boy.
That's great. Growing up, what impact did your mom have on your life?
My mom, wow. Man, that is I can't say enough of my mom, the extremely strong woman that she is. My mom is probably, her and my aunt, my tia Lulu, are probably the two most selfless people you'll ever meet. And I know that people say that a lot, but I can't tell you how much my mom has sacrificed. And her thought process is, what can I do for others, especially my children, before myself? Mm-hmm. And it is such a beautiful thing. But a mother's love, it's incomparable to anything else. It really is. And so my mom impacted my thought process, a lot of how I want to treat other women. And that was a battle and a struggle, but I always constantly went back. Someone once said, the way you treat your girlfriend, your relationship with your mom, the way you treat your mom is a lot of times the way you're going to treat your future, fiance, wife, spouse, partner, etc. And I always remember that, and I always try to make sure that I respected and love my mom unconditionally, the way she has. And I think none of us can ever repay the love and the just the caring that our parents have given us. And so my mom, and also just, I was raised by extremely strong, amazing women. And that's why I do carry the label of feminist, and obviously that can, people define it differently, but for me it is recognizing that women can and do run the world. I'm taking that from Beyonce, right? But they really do, and it's amazing, because not only are they heads of households, but they are heads of everything that they do. Women are amazing. All the single moms that I know are just killing it out there. I mean, they are just doing stuff that I can say I'm probably not strong enough to do so. Yeah. So shout out to all the strong women in our lives, because, man, I would not be here where I am without my wife, my mom, and all the strong women in my life.
Yeah, they make it happen.
They do, absolutely.
Very cool. So you're an Aurora, born and raised Aurora resident. Pretty much the only time that you left Aurora was being in the National Guard.
Yes, in the military, when I did basic training and then different types of trainings, obviously, and also when I was at Illinois State University.
Okay, right.
Shout out to the Redbirds.
Hey, shout out. What's one of the biggest changes that you've seen in Aurora from growing up to now?
Wow, a lot. I grew up in the 90s. I was born in 86, but I'm technically a 90s baby. I love 80s culture so much. So what I saw in a lot of people, hopefully, that have lived in Aurora during these times, was I was completely surrounded by gang culture. I mean, our house was literally the corner of the rivalry between Latin Kings and the Deuces. And so it was like, in a sense, a war zone. I hate to use that word, but I mean, constant shootings. And if young listeners probably never lived to see gangs on the corner in their colors, repping, throwing gang signs like that. You don't see that anymore. Right. But that was very common where I grew up. And so to fast forward to today, or even 10 years ago, I mean, it's a huge difference.
Night and day.
Where absolutely,
yeah.
We have a long way to go, and these times are showing that we still have a long way to go when it comes to justice, social justice. But I think we have, and in a sense, with our leaders, but also our community has stepped it up and said, we want safe neighborhoods. So I don't go to sleep at night thinking that there's going to be a shooting every night. And I mean, there's still an issue.
Right.
It hasn't gone away, but those that grew up in the 90s know.
That means a lot to me to hear you say that. I recently went from an apartment to a house. So now I'm in a neighborhood. The flavor is different now.
Right.
You know what I mean? And now like I have to worry about cars going too fast down the street and the kids are playing.
Right.
Now I have to worry about who are these characters on this street too.
Yeah.
All those things are coming now, but I have to say, reading newspaper headlines, talking to people like you who are familiar with how crime-ridden the streets were back then, it is completely night and day.
It was on a whole nother level.
Whole nother, there's graffiti where I live, but geez, it's.
But I will say that, and we have to acknowledge that there are still some neighborhoods, and unfortunately, we have to talk about the connection between crime and areas of low income, and it's
excellent.
A lot of
segue.
times is that crime is coming to them, to the neighborhoods, to our kids, to our families who are actively, a lot of community people are out there like walking the streets. I remember we used to have neighborhood watch groups, and that's something that we I think need to start thinking about.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
Because that that makes our residents know that, hey, our neighbors are walking the streets and keeping an eye out. And I think sometimes people feel more safe than if they see, police or the National Guard or something. Now that sometimes enacts more fear.
Moms and dads on the street make a bigger impact than troops and helmets and bayonets.
Absolutely.
We got so much to talk about in this interview, so we gotta make sure that we hit all the points.
Yeah.
How do you feel at this? Well, let me start that over. How equitable and fair is Aurora, in your opinion, at this moment?
That's a great question. If you look at it from a general sense, I think we always have work to do, and that's a general response, right? But we got to start looking at specifics. How fair are we when it comes to housing? That's an area that we need to start looking at. Is housing affordable?
Right.
Are there neighborhoods that unfortunately people put a lot of work into their homes, yet the values haven't gone up or significantly up? So housing could be one area that we can literally just talk all day about. Education. And this is not just an issue in Aurora. It is a universal, at least in the nation, where education, and we have to have this conversation, education, the system, is still segregated. We thought segregation ended in the 60s, but we still have school districts that are predominantly people of color, predominantly Latino or African American, whose schools are not as well funded as other schools that might have different demographics.
Right.
And let's have that conversation about the funding of Naperville schools compared to Aurora schools. I know we always do that comparison, but they're our neighbors.
No, where else would we? How else would we measure? Yes,
exactly.
That's a perfect comparison.
And it's one of those things where once we start having the conversation, once we start to see, okay, what are the significant issues facing the lack of funding for our schools? And it's always it's a local issue, but it's also a federal issue. And we know right now, without getting too in depth, the federal level people running education is a complete joke. And this is coming from an educator of only 5 years. I think I have more experience as a 5-year teacher. But education, housing, when we start to think about downtown Aurora has always been a focus, and it has changed in many ways better. I mean, we're bringing in more business, but we always have to start to stop and say, what we're bringing in, is this Aurora? Is this us? Is this the community?
Sure.
You know what I mean? And it's, the word
I do.
gentrification gets thrown around a lot, but we really needed to look at that, because I think everyone wants us to be successful business wise, people coming down. I mean, Paramount, I'm so upset. We're really excited about the season for the Paramount. All of these great things that we have, and in addition to bringing in and making sure we're highlighting and putting spotlight on the businesses that have been here for years, generations of family businesses.
Right.
One example that comes to mind is the Rulin family. Been here for so long.
Yeah.
And Midwest Trophies, which is John O's Trophy, that family's been around for a while. Tecalitlan, which is right down the street here, amazing food. Their family.
We had
right?
lunch there.
We did.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean,
It was
there's
like
so many institutions that we have in Aurora, right? And I love that we have that. Plus, we have new skin in the game, so to speak.
Yes.
It's really cool.
A lot of variety.
Absolutely.
In the
Yeah.
city for food and people.
Different spokes for different folks.
Yeah.
Tell us about
sorry,
you.
go
Oh, go.
No,
tell
yeah.
us.
So that's just we can touch on
This is great.
all of these things
Yeah.
that need us to talk about. The wonderful thing is I think we have the capacity and we have the people. That's the most important thing.
Right.
people.
We have the people that acknowledge that there are that we're not there yet, and will we ever be there yet, right? But as long as we have people that recognize and want to combat it, all these issues of inequality, then I think we'll at least go in the right direction.
I agree. I totally agree with that.
Tell us about your role with the city of Aurora and what you're doing.
Sure. So, youth services manager. So, youth services has been around for a while. I mean, I think that the names have changed, but I am happy to say that I am following the footsteps of my mentor, one of my mentors, and my former boss, Fred Rogers. I mean, we have a Magnet Academy named after him. Amazing human being. I worked under Fred Rogers when I was in high school. Youth services used to employ high school students during the summertime, and some of them during the school year, when we were housed at the current Magnet Academy here on the east side.
Root Street.
And on Root Street, yes, which that's my old neighborhood.
Oh, shit.
College and Union.
Oh, snap.
So I was like right by there, and so it's really cool to come full circle. I remember on my first day in this position, Fred Rogers messaged someone, said, "Have Simon give me a call." I was so excited to talk to him, and he just gave me some amazing words of wisdom. And the thing that I'll never forget, and this was day one when I started, almost 2 years ago, actually, on the 27th of August. Today's the 27th?
It
This
is.
the 27th.
Oh my goodness, today's my 2-year anniversary.
It's your anniversary.
That is not planned.
Anniversary.
Yeah, I started on the 27th of August in 2018. He told me, whatever you do in this job, make sure you're doing it for the kids.
August 27th.
And that always, every decision that we make, everything that we plan, when we're talking about our budget, when we're talking about programming, make sure at the end of the day we're doing it for our kids. And that's the philosophy that I take in this job. And we do a lot, and we can do more, and we want to do more. But we host a sports festival and different athletics at the middle school level with all the schools in Aurora. We have our youth and family resource fairs twice a year, where we bring over 40 of our community partners and highlight what they're doing for youth services. And it's a free event. It's great. Unfortunately, this year we had to cancel the one in April, and then
Right.
we'll make an official announcement, but we're not gonna have the one in September coming up, but we're gonna have a virtual option, which is gonna be fun. And we provide summer camps. Again, this summer we became creative and work with communities and schools. Amazing organization. Great staff. CIS. Yes, I used to work with them. In high school as well and in college, so it's cool to come back. And we provided over 5,000 activity kits to go home, and they were real successful. And we partnered with Aurora Public Library, with Aurora Public Art with Jen Evans, and with
Shout out.
with all of these awesome organizations. So again, collaboration is key when we want to serve our youth. And then we have a slew of different activities, after school activities. And again, when I said that we need to do more, not just we need to do more. And we have a survey up, and it's only till Monday. I've been promoting it, so if it's cool if I just have a few seconds to plug it in. If you go to our Facebook page, Youth Services, City of Aurora Youth Services, there's a link to go to a survey. It's a quick 2-minute survey at that. And we just have questions, and there's a survey for adults in English, adults in Spanish, and then for our youth. Mm-hmm. And all we want to know is, what do we need to do? What do we need in our community? What are the needs and concerns? And that is how we move forward and really supply our communities with what their needs are.
Say that link again.
So we have our Facebook page is City of Aurora Youth Services. Mm-hmm. And you can also go to City of Aurora is aurora-il.org. Right. And under City Services, you just go to Youth and Senior Services, and then we have the link to the surveys right there.
Awesome.
Yeah. Again, we just really want to get as much input from our community as possible, and want to work with our community to see what they need. And that's my ultimate goal, is always to listen and provide.
Yeah, listening is so important
Absolutely.
because you don't know some of the problems that are out there and how you can solve them if no one's bringing them to your attention.
Absolutely. And then what we might have needed as children, as youth, is dramatically different, from what our youth need today. And then especially now in time of COVID, when we think about this term of isolation, I mean, I know adults, myself included, that struggle with being isolated. Imagine a young mind who is not used to that. Our kids, in a different way, are very social, and to put them now in a situation where they have to be isolated, we have to take that into consideration as well. So we move with them. We don't expect our youth to move with us. We go to them, and that's a great philosophy that I learned in college. Go to them, not them to you. And I think
right.
that's always key for communication with our community leaders and the community.
The time is now 8:30 a.m. You are listening to Good Morning Aurora, the second largest city's first daily news podcast, and we are proud to be joined by Mr. Simon Rodriguez Jr. of City of Aurora's Youth Services. I think it was May 31st was the rioting and all the hubbub in Aurora. I think that's the date. Where were you?
I think I was with my wife. We were just, we're at home. I mean, I think we're, a lot of this time during COVID, we were being very careful. We're staying pretty much at home and working on house projects, things like that. And then I remember there was a protest scheduled to be in front of the police department. Right. And we couldn't make it. We had like a health scare, and we did get tested for COVID. Thank God it was negative, but we just wanted to be safe. We wanted to be there. And that was a beautiful display of passion and people just coming together to using their First Amendment God-given right to protest. And we can't focus enough on the fact that it was a very peaceful, very passionate protest. And I remember I was just watching it all along on Facebook, and then obviously as the day went on, and then I think in the evening is when things started happening. And it's just social media can be great. It's a wealth of information, also a wealth of misinformation, and I say that because anyone can post, this is what's happening, and then it's not happening. It's altered. It's the narrative can be false,
Or it was 4 hours ago.
Or it happened, or just so and so was hurt, and I know that person. I don't make sure they're okay and they're fine. So, in the midst of chaos comes misinformation at times. But I think a lot of people are super torn because, first of all, the protests, people that are protesting were overwhelmingly peaceful. And I think rightfully so. We needed to support them if we couldn't be there because of what's going on. But then, you look at what happened with the damages to our I say our because it's part of our community, businesses here, and places that were vandalized or looted, or places that potentially could have. These are people that I know personally.
Yeah, our store got vandalized.
My sister's godmother, who I've known her and her family my entire life. They have a store downtown on Broadway. I was thinking about them. I was thinking about, good, hardworking people that have been in Aurora, that are invested in Aurora. That, that's unfortunate. And sometimes it takes away from the overall message, and I know it's such a touchy subject because at the same time, who are we to tell people how to protest? It's such a hard thing to talk about. It really is, especially for us who love our city and we love our community and we love the people that have given so much to the community by opening businesses downtown. So I was part of the efforts to help clean up, and even though just like staying away from people as much as possible, at least trying to lend a hand as much as I could at the time.
Yeah, you were out there, man.
But a lot of people were, and we got to give praise to and recognition to them for stepping up, right away in the morning. I mean, I think after even in the middle of the night, people were already trying to help out and clean up.
Yeah, it was early because I know it was originally scheduled, I think, for 9 or something, but then I think the city went live at maybe
Yeah.
like 6 a.m.
Yeah.
There was still people, to
Yeah.
start cleaning up and
Absolutely.
doing a lot of work out there.
Absolutely. So, man, it's, for us, especially those that again, support protesting what's going on and are just disgusted by the innocent, unarmed lives that we're losing to those that are sworn to protect us. It is tough. And we have to, and this whole, when you call it out, oh, you must be anti-police, you must be, why can't we have an honest intellectual conversation to say, yes, I know some amazing police officers, some people that are great, and they're doing some great work, community work out there. They are not defined by the actions of these few. But if I was in any profession and people that were in the same profession as me were doing these atrocities, I will stand up and say something. And how do we do that? How do we engage that? Because this is a bigger issue, I think. It's the system. The system is, I don't even want to say broken, because in many respects, historically speaking,
It was made
the
like
system
that.
was
It's not-
made.
yeah,
it's
not
working
broken.
the way
Yeah.
it should.
Yeah, it's
Right.
probably the best well-oiled machine out there. It's
Right.
like a brand new car.
Absolutely.
Now I have a question.
Oh,
Ruffle
it's
the
important.
papers for effect on the mic for those who are listening. Like, oh shit. Education has, for a long time, had funding issues.
Yes.
And we'll speak specifically at this moment of the East Side. We'll take District 131 as opposed to District 204 or 203 or some of the others, or 308. What could you do with $88,000?
Oh.
And I think I know I think you know where I'm going with this. Which is why because this is going to be brought up in another interview that we're working on.
Right,
Good Morning
right.
Aurora's working on, but I want to pose that specific number to you. I think you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
I want to ask you.
it's interesting because you're I'm going back when I think of education and my time in the classroom, and I still think I'm an educator. I think there's so many ways, different facets, but God bless our educators. I think people do not understand how much teachers sacrifice willingly because they love their kids, and they're their kids. You see
Right.
these kids sometimes more than, we have a lot of families whose parents work a lot. So there's times where I would see my students more than their parents would throughout the week because their parents are working so much. So there's such a huge emotional attachment, and teachers that are spending money out of their pockets. I mean, Arlene Hawks, who you guys had before, one of my, I'm going to go ahead and say it, my favorite teacher of all time. I had her as my drama director and someone who impacted my life so much. And the things that woman has done and still continues to do to be so selfless for other people, for her students still, even though she's still an educator in her role at SciTech and whatever she does in the community. And so going back to your question, any kind of funding, I mean, we know education is lacking in funding. And even other schools outside of District 131, we can always do better with funds.
Sure.
No one wants to hear, I think, hey, we're going to raise your taxes, especially people on fixed incomes, lower incomes. Hearing that is like, it's tough. And then me personally, raise my taxes if it goes to our kids, to our community, to those that need it, that are less fortunate. Unfortunately, we live in a nation that I think most people don't think that way. It is me, not us. And being a community-minded person, any and all funds that are used for education are great. I mean, we know that we can still use more funds for supplies, for classroom upkeep, for hiring more staff, for teachers that have 30 plus students in a room. Now, I don't know anyone listening out there that has children and has been teaching their kids that, the parents have been teachers in the home, and you have 2 or 3 kids and you're almost pulling your hair out. Imagine 10 times that many every day,
All day.
And people are like, we signed up for this. Yes, and we love that. But try to understand the scope of what teachers do and how we need to put more skin in the game. And I think where things change is the mentality. people need to hear or feel or agree that education is a priority. Funding education, funding youth, funding our community is literally an investment for the future of the city and any city, throughout the country.
So I want to. That's no, I completely agree with that statement. Why do you think? Maybe just asking you to speculate. Why do you think there's been such a disparity between funding in certain districts and funding in other districts?
Right. I mean, and again, this is nationwide. If you look at most people don't know that education is funded through predominantly, and if someone's listening and wants to kind of expand on that, but from my understanding, education or districts are funded by property taxes, mostly property taxes, right? So if you live in a district, your property taxes that you pay twice a year or however it works, most of it goes towards the school district. So if you have a school district where the housing, and property taxes are based on the value of your home.
Right.
So if you live in a district where most houses are, they're capped off at a certain value, they're not as, valued as other school districts where the houses are, more expensive, the taxes are more.
Right.
So when you start to see neighborhoods where, the houses are, $500,000 or more.
White Eagle.
Right. Then you are seeing those property taxes are way higher.
I got a friend that lives in White Eagle though, so shout out because the pool parties are awesome. Right? That wasn't a diss.
No. And it's a fact, and I think it's not a political fact. It's a fact.
That's true.
But then when you're in a neighborhood, let's say where the houses are average, under 200,000.
Right.
The property taxes are lower, which means less money going towards school. A lot of people would argue that funding equation or formula is not equitable, because at the end of the day, if you live in a quote-unquote richer neighborhood, your schools are going to be way more funded than if you live in a neighborhood that is not, the houses aren't as valuable in price or in value. And to tell someone, because you live in a house, you make less money, your schools are not going to be as well funded as over there in houses that if you could afford, you probably would move there. And it's no secret that when people look at when they're buying a house, if they have children or they want to have children, they're looking at the quality of the schools.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I mean, I think every time I would see a sign that says, move here, excellent schools, or, top-rated schools, and then they look it up, oh, great. And who doesn't want their kids to go to a great school?
Right.
I envision, and other countries, especially if you look at like Finland, they've been able to master every school. Public school is phenomenal, because if I'm not mistaken, they're funded a lot also through federally, which we are as well, but most of the funding comes locally.
Right.
And that's the other part of it, is how are we funding schools from a federal perspective? And we know, especially right now, that schools funding always gets cut, and then we have people who have political agendas, or they want to privatize, or they want,
or their brothers work for Blackwater.
Yeah, right. So, and it's the day that we make businesses out of education, out of healthcare, we quote unquote privatize or make them businesses. That is the day where most of us, that's how you create inequality, in a sense. So go back to your original kind of question. The bigger picture is that we live in a country where everything's up for sale. And again, not to get too political or hate on the economic system, but if we can agree that, yes, business is good, people want to open businesses, sell their products, sell their services, great. They're going to make a living. That's awesome. But can we identify certain aspects of life in this country that we say, you know what, this should be publicly funded and well funded?
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So we're not trying to make a buck. The prison systems, another example. Why are we privatizing and making money out of people being locked up, out of the schools,
right,
out of people trying to live healthy lives? That's a whole other conversation, but you know what I mean? It's
Well, you already
all
coming on
connects.
for a part 2. We already see that.
It all connects.
It does. Very well said.
We talked about this a little yesterday with John over at All Spoked Up about
Yeah.
some of the changes that he'd like to see, or maybe modeling, some other cities and doing it our way. What changes do you think we need to make either downtown or throughout the city?
I'm liking the as a millennial, it's always nice to, obviously before COVID, a lot of people were like, man, hey, tell them to put a rooftop bar. Like, it's so big right now. And just for,
Seems vain now, though, right?
yeah, I don't know about now, right? But people are, what I've noticed, there's a lot of young people that kind of go off and do their thing. They go to college and then they come back, or they have that connection to Aurora because they love it. They grew up here. So, people want a successful, beautiful, vibrant downtown, but also Aurora in general. Me personally, like now going back to like my education and what I do, I would love to see more facilities or community centers, that are open to the public, free. I remember taking advantage of that when Fred Rogers School was the youth service community center. I lived down the street. After school, I could just walk there, and get homework help, and play basketball or soccer. And we can't underestimate that old school kind of let the kids show up, and then we just let them be active, help them with homework. And there's a lot of great resources now, but we also have to understand that there are also a lot of our families that probably can't afford either paying for these programs, or they don't have the transportation. And so I'd like to see maybe working with other organizations or churches that have facilities that we could potentially open up community centers after school, where they're neighborhoods, so kids can just walk there or get dropped off. And so that's something I'd like to see. I really just like to see more focus on making sure that we're serving our community, the least of these, our youth especially. So but personally speaking, just I love obviously before COVID, places that you can go out to. My wife and I were at least once a week going out to like downtown Aurora or to the Roundhouse or just the places in Aurora. It's really cool because there was always the stigma growing up, when I turned 21. Hey, let's go to Naperville. Let's go somewhere outside of Aurora. And I'm like, no, and then just with McCarty Mills and all this, people like us, we appreciate,
I've seen
craft
you there
beer.
I've seen you there like
Yeah.
2 or 3 times.
Yeah. It's great. I mean, and it's people from Aurora, or from the area, and just that's opening a business. I imagine is a huge risk. I've never been around business or owned a business, but my hat's off to people that take that risk, not knowing, the market, it could be great, but then people open right before COVID and then it happened, and it's just
right.
like, God bless them that they have that spirit to believe in our downtown or in Aurora in general. That's amazing.
How happy are you with what you see taking place? So you keep up also with the city of Aurora city council meetings and things like that?
Yeah, when I can, yes.
How happy are you with the response that the city has or has had to issues?
I think a lot of the times it's I think overall good, honestly, and I think I have regular conversations with a lot of our aldermen, and I think that's the important thing, is having the communication.
Right.
We know there's things that always needs to improve or fix, but I always encourage people to reach out to others personally, or if you have time to do the public comment section, but don't let that just be the only time. Reach out to them through email or if you see them, in public, socially distanced, of course. But I, even before I started with my current position as an educator, as a community member, I want to make sure like I have a good relationship with my aldermen. Like, people listening, do you know who your alderman is? Do you have communication with them? I think that's important. It's just like my good friend Barbara Hernandez. It's having that reciprocal relationship,
Right.
where yes, they come to you, but you can also go to them.
Right.
And so that's that's what I see, you know, and obviously everyone has a different opinion or different approach, but I do think that having communication is super key. And I always, you know, 630-256-3402 is my direct line. I want people to call me. I want people to email me, srodriguez@aurora-il.org, or through Facebook, you know, and I'll get in touch with you. I want people to feel comfortable to communicate to me, to tell me what you need, how I can serve you. That's what I'm here. We are servants. Anyone that works for government, that works for you know, where our tax dollars are paying for all these services. We're here to serve you.
Public servant.
Public servant, right?
Ooh,
when I was in the
right on.
yeah, there you go. You know, being in the military, you are here.
I didn't spill it.
You didn't spill anything on the couch. No, there was not a spill on the couch. Military, we serve the people
Yep.
to protect them. They don't serve us.
Exactly.
That is such a great key mentality to keep with you, to keep you grounded. And I think that's important for me in my position, or anyone in any city, state, federal government.
I was seeing you before I knew you were a veteran, and that's one of the things. Before, like, actually, like,
A lot of
talking
people.
to you, before,
Yeah,
like,
a lot of
actually
people,
talking
yeah.
to you and meeting you, like, I was seeing you at, like, so many. I'm like, yo, this dude is motivated. Like, he is in the he's in the mix. Like, and I really like. And then when I met you and found out that you're an Army veteran, that's when I was like, okay, that's what, like, he knows. He's
Right.
got it. It's ingrained in him, it's ingrained in him
Right.
to serve people. Yes.
I think even before then, I always, you know, in elementary school, my teacher would always be like, first of all, I talk way too much. I'm an extreme extrovert. So, but they said you always want to do things for other people. You know, and I think that keeps me humble and grounded. And I always, you know, when I pray, my prayer is to keep me focused on serving others, to not lose sight of the good work that myself and others do in the community, to not make it about me, or to have a personal agenda, because that's
Right.
where I think good people kind of veer off. We always talk about like politics, you know, politicians. They're like, once you become a politician, you become, you know, corrupt and something. Like, I think what happens is a lot of people go into it with such a passion and a big heart, and there's obviously others that go in for themselves, but somewhere along the lines, we as humans lose sight. And that happened with me when I was an educator, and then you have to come back. You know, you have to come back down to earth, and so, but being in the military definitely humbled me.
Yeah.
It has to.
Yeah.
You're getting humbled quick.
Yeah,
So
whatever
don't have
you,
a big ego.
Yeah, whatever you thought you were. Yeah,
Yeah.
you get
Oh, yeah.
reprogrammed. Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely.
But in a good way. And that brings me to a question that I really wanted to ask you. You know, and you yourself being an alumni of East Aurora High School, there is at the moment in the country a concerted, dedicated push to remove ROTC and programs
Okay.
from high schools. East Aurora High School has, I think, the second largest NJROTC.
I think it's the largest.
Is it the largest?
Yeah, I believe so.
Okay.
Yes, I believe so.
How do you feel about that?
Yeah,
And you're aware of the narrative that's behind
Absolutely.
it. The military is taking our young students of color and
Right.
removing
Well-
these talents and reprogramming them to do bad things.
let's have an honest conversation about what's been going on at Fort Hood.
Sure.
Let's be specific.
Yeah.
I believe 5 or 6, and I think most of them are Latino.
All of them. Or excuse me, there were one of the young, one was Filipino last
Right.
month. Yeah.
Okay. People that dedicated their lives to serve our country. I think we live in a predominantly patriotic country that supports our troops, supports our military, you know, and why aren't we focusing more on this issue? People that literally dedicate their lives to serve we're starting to see that they're complaining about harassment, nothing's being done, and then it's a similar story. This is not a conspiracy now. This is something's going on, and the fact that nothing is being done
They're complaining
worries
about
me.
harassment and they're winding
Right.
up dead.
That worries me as someone who's in the military, and someone asked me the other day if you're, you know, if you had children, and they told you that want to enlist in the military, I'd have extreme doubts and probably not veer them that way, because if they can't guarantee safety of anyone, even if they're Latino, African American, Caucasian, if you can't guarantee safety on a military base, which if you ever gone to a military base, I mean, to get through there, it's,
This is why I asked that question of you. Yes,
Yeah.
this is why I asked that question, because you know damn
oh
well.
man, I mean, it's a fortress. They're called Fort whatever, right? And they should change some of the names from the Confederate. That's a different story.
Right, that's what right.
But that boggles my mind, and it fills me with so much anger. And so we need to take a hard look at recruiting methods. That it's no secret that typically recruiters go to predominant, people,
Neighborhoods
school,
of color.
neighborhoods of
Yes,
color in
sure.
schools. Absolutely.
Yeah.
To my knowledge, I could be wrong. I don't know if they have these at, schools that are way more funded, that we quote unquote rich schools, however you want to
Well,
frame
they so on Ogden Avenue over there by, I think, right by Ogden. Excuse me. Yeah, it's Ogden Avenue and Washington.
Mm-hmm.
So that's North Central High School, Naperville North. One of the two.
Okay.
There's a recruiter right across the street.
Right.
So,
And I mean, when you have like college career fairs, there's typically recruiters there. But
Sure.
to have them, I think, like when you have them housed in the school,
right.
it's another thing. And I think really the community needs input. If the community is overwhelmingly supportive of it, but sometimes, and I think that's where we really need to get parents and the community involved. Do they know about this? Is our community educated on what's going on in the schools?
That question was the first question that I wrote last night when
Okay.
preparing questions to ask you, because like I said when we started off in the pre-conversation, like, that life,
Mm-hmm.
and your experience as being a young person of color,
Right.
and how implausible it is that these individuals, who are all people of color,
Mhm.
can't be found on a military installation.
Yeah.
They've all reported sexual harassment
Mm-hmm.
and subsequently are found dead.
Yeah.
A friend of mine, I saw this quote. I didn't come up with this quote, but it said, if this was going back to Vanessa Guillen.
Yeah.
It said that if Vanessa Guillen was a rifle, nobody would have went anywhere until it was found.
Yeah. Oh yes. Oh my goodness. What I remember when I was at Fort Benning, doing my OSET training, and basic training, and they would literally, when you came back to your bay, they would check everything to make sure. 'Cause sometimes rounds, they come off and they go inside and they burn.
Yeah.
And they're but oh god, if a weapon was missing, they shut the base down. I mean, these bases are the size of big cities. They shut it all down. And man, that is such a powerful statement.
When I was in the Navy, like a magazine for an M14 was misplaced for like 3 hours. Let me tell you something. Besides human beings breathing, wasn't shit happening on that base until that magazine
Absolutely
was found. It
Yeah.
was just so.
So that's why, again, boggles my mind. It fills me with so much anger that this is happening. And beyond what has happened at Fort Hood, we know that sexual harassment is a huge issue in the military.
Yes, it is.
And not just with absolutely, I think it's probably more predominantly with our female enlisted soldiers,
Yes.
but also with men getting harassed,
Yep.
and we have to be a society that accepts that men do get sexually harassed as well. So our people that put their lives on the line for a nation should never have to go through that, and there needs to be a complete overhaul
There does, and that's a conversation that needs to consistently and continually be had, because
Absolutely.
being in the military, as well I do, that slurs,
Oh yeah.
crude jokes that nobody asked for,
Mm-hmm.
colorful ways to explain women and men and genitalia. I mean, that is the type of, that's just baked into the cake of that culture.
Mm-hmm.
Wait a minute. Dang, the time is now 8:58 a.m. and you're listening
Man,
to the
too-
second largest city's greatest
That went
news
fast.
podcast.
Went too fast.
Well, there's a part 2 coming already. I mean, this is, man, the
Just
time.
started.
Yeah.
Gosh.
Flies, right?
All right. The show ends on a positive.
Yes.
Well, first of all, before we get to the show ending, I want you to let people know what you have going on and what's upcoming
Yes.
with your activities.
Absolutely. So as I mentioned earlier, we have a survey till Monday. We just want to, again, get feedback, collect that feedback to move forward with what we want to do with our services, programs, events. So through our Facebook page, City of Aurora Youth Services, or if you go to the City of Aurora website under services, go to Youth and Senior Services, and the survey's there. We have our summer activity kits were really popular. We are going to do that for the fall. We'll get information out as soon as we have the dates and the locations where we'll partner with our school districts to hand those out as well as a virtual resource fair that is in the works, and then other things. So as we kind of look at what we have left for the year, we'll announce it. And I do want to correct something you said. You said we want to end on a positive note. I think, honestly, we've been very positive with the fact that we can look at situations and say, hey, these need help. We need to change that. That's a positive. People always think that's like a criticism or negative. It's not. It's looking at situations and saying, hey, we can improve this.
Be actionable.
Absolutely. When I spoke to my former students at East, I would approach it very positively and say, hey, you didn't do too well in this assignment, this test, but here's how we can do better. Here's what I can do to help you. And that leaves that student with hope that things are going to get better. And I hope our listeners that are listening is like, it's not criticism, it's not negativity. It is, let's move forward in a positive manner and work together to impact our youth and our community and go in the right direction.
Yeah. I'm reading some of these comments on the Facebook Live feed.
Mm-hmm.
And it was Tracy Duran who says, you can feel Simon's love and enthusiasm for everything that he's talking about. Such a great attitude towards everything, too.
Oh,
thank
you. That's very beautiful to say.
Very actionable. Again, I think if everybody went into their job, their day, with that enthusiasm and support and the willingness to change things,
Absolutely.
it would make such a difference.
Absolutely. I have not worked since 2014. Meaning, when I started as an educator for District 131 till this point with the city, this is not work. This is my life's passion. I just so happen to get paid, and that's the key. If people listening, do what you love and get paid to do it. You'll never work another day in your life, and that's how I honestly feel. And I really appreciate those kind words from Tracy.
That was Tracy.
Tracy.
Wait till you read the rest of them.
Yeah, I will. Thank you guys. I really appreciate it.
Again, it was just an actionable thing that everyone can take with them to be positive and to make a difference.
Absolutely.
The time is now 9:02 a.m.
Ooh, we went over.
Ooh, it was worth it. You have been listening to Good Morning Aurora, the second largest city's first daily news podcast. And a friend of mine asked me the other day, or we got a message on Facebook, so I just wanted to reiterate for the folks. Good Morning Aurora is here to serve our underserved communities, our LGBTQ members, veterans, seniors, members of the undocumented community as well. Please give us a subscribe and a like on YouTube. Like and subscribe to our page on Facebook to stay up with what we're doing. We've got much more to come. We thank Simon for coming on to the show today and talking to us.
Thank you for what you're doing.
And we want everybody to have a safe, positive, and blessed and very motivated Thursday. We'll see you back here tomorrow morning with Sarah Sommer.
Awesome.
Wonderful Aurora artist. Stay tuned.
All right.
See you guys
Thank
tomorrow.
You guys. God bless everyone.
Peace.